Hi, I'm Nathaniel Williams from UC Davis. I wrote a book on strange technology in the fiction of Mark Twain's era, and I also teach a first-year seminar on steampunk. Both of those things inform my presentation. Steampunk, the countercultural phenomenon that blends C19 art design aesthetic with modern science fiction and maker culture, can seem like a godsend to 19th century literature instructors searching for weird visceral access points for our undergrads. Steampunk transplanted the angry, edgy attitude of 1980s cyberpunk into the 19th century when steam, not computers, drove cutting-edge technology. It rejects today's prevailing smaller, sleeker design values. Steampunk's fascination with gears, for example, is really a fascination with visible, tangible technology, such as found in the Victorian age. Steampunking, the verb form, means customizing something so that it looks like weird C19 technology, such as the laptop computer on the top right of this slide. Now, despite impressive visuals, there's no guarantee students will embrace it, so context is important, and that's what I'm covering today. And I'm really talking about two kinds of steampunk. The first is today's creative reimaginings of C19 that can help backwards engineer context for the earlier works we cover. Second is what science fiction historian Mike Ashley has dubbed steampunk prime, material that is from C19 that can actually be integrated into our courses if it hasn't been already. Both kinds foreground weird disruptive technology, body modification, and social reordering. Also, working class writers who produce steampunk prime and detective novels borrowed plot elements from newspaper stories to help generate ideas on a deadline. So the works engage with their era's events in unique ways, and they do it with a range of approaches. Consider the vastly different takes on travel and empire found in The Steam Man of the Prairies, Tom Sawyer Abroad, and Of One Blood. Moreover, newly digitized online texts make it easier to find material that really wasn't available until now. 5 universities just won an NEH grant to digitize and create scholarly apparatus for dime novels by Beadle and Adams publishers. So there's more of this on the way. Finally, steampunk prime works are more inclusive, foregrounding lost and unrecognized writers of many backgrounds. Those are the pros. Now let's talk about the cons. Steampunk has always had a sense of humor about itself, but recently it's been portrayed as a cultural movement that failed to launch, as seen in this snarkily titled 2018 Vice magazine article. Steampunk doesn't bring a built-in cool factor. Most of my students who say they're into steampunk have only encountered it in customizable video game characters, the skins that they can change for those characters' avatars, which means they understand the look, but not the historical or literary context. Similarly, students may feel as removed from the punk era as they do from the steam era, which I'm happy to discuss more. Also, some steampunk prime works are so similar to modern works that we risk oversimplification through analogies. Students like the colorful covers of science fiction dime novels, but not necessarily their prose. Dime novels aren't comics any more than Pauline Hopkins' African utopia Telesar is Marvel Comics' Wakanda, but the analog can be useful to a point. A bit about best practices. The material itself is so unabashedly weird that labeling it as steampunk is probably unnecessary. And it's also best to teach these as short pieces or examples. And I note here that Michael Denning, Linda Hughes, and others have explained that this piecemeal reading process actually resembles C19 readers' experience of serialized texts. So there's some theory behind that pedagogy. Now some quick examples. George Lepard's The Quaker City conveys 19th century paranoia and violence in an unwieldy 500+ page text. A steampunk syllabus might entail just reading the 2 sections that feature characters imagining America's future. My freshmen, for example, are fascinated by this 1844 portrayal of a utopian future that's still in our future in 2040, the year 2040. With Poe's narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym, snippets of text can show its massive influence. H.P. Lovecraft borrowed Pym's setting and the haunting refrain "Take a Lili" from his Antarctic novel At the Mountains of Madness. Ishmael Reed and Matt Johnson have interrogated the novel's racial content in their fiction, while steampunk works often conflate Poe and Lovecraft to do similar work. And that includes comics like Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and even the current HBO series Lovecraft Country, which is produced by Jordan Peele, who I had on the first slide of this. All those can be used to chart Poe's influence and the depth of the conversation. Utopian serials give us opportunities to address big ideas in short forms. They're all available online, and many have been contextualized in books that I have in my references section, which again helps connect them to these broader, weirder C19 social movements that inspire them. For a more specific use of C19 current events, look at writer-editor Louis Philippe Senerens, who in the 1890s published 11 dime novels using Cuba's war against Spain as a backdrop. And at least 4 of those tales featured boy inventors with fantastic weapons. And they were written by Senerens under the pseudonym No Name. The one I show here is readily available in full at NIU. There are more like that. I'd love to discuss them if we have time. I hope the references that I've included here are useful to you all, and I look forward to our discussion. Thank you.